All right, hello, rockers, rollers, and heavy metal maniacs. It's the Meister from Brews and Tunes. Cheers. I am absolutely beside myself with excitement today. I believe, as the English would say, I'm absolutely chuffed. Um, I am thrilled to be talking today to a rock and roll legend from one of my all-time favorite bands. Of course, I'm talking of the mighty Praying Mantis, and I am chatting with one of its founding members, bassist Chris Troy. Chris, how are you doing, sir?
I'm fantastic, Victor. Thank you very much for inviting me onto your show, and it's an honor for me as well.
Awesome. Thank you. This is great. This is very exciting. Well, I guess we should start maybe by talking about what's currently going on or what just went on with the band. So you guys were just last weekend, a week ago today, you were in Sweden for the Time to Rock Festival. How was that?
It was an amazing show, fantastic. You know, the crowds were incredible. The organization of the event itself was second to none. It really was good. I mean, we've played the actual Sweden Rock a couple of times before, and they do have it off to a T. Really good organization, really good technical crew, the lot. And this is different. We've not done Time to Rock before, but I believe there, is the management. There's about five or six or seven of them that did behind Sweden Rock, and I think a few of them have splintered off and they've decided to put this together. So I think it's only a few years this Time to Rock has been going,
Cool.
but it appears to be growing. Is growing and growing. Is growing legs. So with a bit of luck, it may become as big as Sweden Rock.
Cool.
So that's as I understand it. So with a bit of luck, it went down so well. They said, they'll have us back. So hopefully, maybe I doubt if it'll be consecutive years, but maybe in 2 years' time we'll go back there.
Nice. Very cool. Very cool. Yeah, I saw the poster, the lineup looked incredible. I mean, of course, you were there, and then I believe Jolyn Turner was the headliner, if I'm not mistaken. The amazing Jolyn Turner. So that's really cool. Um, uh,
It was yeah, it was a little bit frustrating because we were on at 11:30 at night. That was fine for us. We love going on late anyway. But for some reason they put Joe Turner on exactly the same time as us on another stage, and it was frustrating because A, wanted to see them, but B, it sort of subdivided the crowd because two sort of melodic bands. We knew obviously with Joe's name and everything, they would take a fair bit of the melodic sort of audience away from us. But nevertheless, we had a great crowd. So we were privileged to think, yeah, we held on to those with such a name, playing on the other stage. But on such a lovely evening, it was similar to today, like in the UK here today, it was about 31 degrees. But
yeah.
the heat when it rises at night, it just carries the sound. And so
Mhm.
every time we finished the song, I could hear Joe in the background playing their music. So it was interesting. It was very good.
Very cool. Very cool. Yeah, I think that, I mean, it's cool that, but at the same time, yeah, I can understand the frustration because one, you probably would have liked to have seen Joe play. And then, yeah, as an audience member, as a big fan of Praying Mantis and as a fan of Joe Lynn Turner, I would have been pissed. So, because I mean, I would have stayed with Praying Mantis, but that would have been really frustrating, I think, to have to pick and choose, between favorite bands. That's a little frustrating, I'm sure, for some fans. Um,
But yeah, but particularly, they had different genres of music there. So why not have, I don't know, like a thrash band when we're on, or vice versa. Just to have different types of music. So if someone wants thrash, they go to that stage. But to have two melodic bands on at the same time just didn't seem to make a lot of sense.
yeah, that's a little odd.
But that's
Um,
my only complaint, and it's a minor one.
you have well, Praying Mantis, there's an interesting connection in with Joe Lynn Turner in terms of a specific song. I wondered if you would talk about that a little bit. because I think it's pretty cool.
It's yeah, it goes back a long, long time. I think back to 1979 or maybe 1980. But when we were recording Time Tells No Lies, we had the main batch of the songs had been recorded, but the management was saying at that time, I think it would be great to have, a maybe another writer on there, someone with a bit of clout. And he'd gone to this publishing house, and I remember he came excited into the studio, and he goes, "Guys, listen to this. It's unbelievable. It's by a guy called Russ Ballard, and it's called I Surrender." We listened to it, and we thought, that was brilliant. So we recorded it. We spent, a few weeks, putting the backing track down. Steve Carroll, who was the guitarist in our band at the time, had quite a gruff voice, but he did an amazing vocal on it. It sounded great. So we were really pleased with it. We were about to release it as a single, and then that manager came into the studio one day with a long face, and he goes, "Sorry, guys," I said, "we've been beaten to the post, by Rainbow, a huge band, Rainbow. They've recorded it, and it's just been released, so we can't." And it was gutting. We all
Oh
felt
yeah.
so sad at that point. But and it went mega for Rainbow. I think it really catapulted Rainbow at that point.
Yeah.
So there was a little bit of, "Oh, if only, could that have happened to us?" I don't know. We didn't have the clout of Rainbow. We didn't, Rainbow already quite big, so maybe it wouldn't have been as big a hit as it was for them. But nevertheless, it may have changed our trajectory a little bit. So.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that's why, yeah, it's there's definitely that connection there. So when Joe was playing on the stage, I was trying to listen out for I Surrender, see if he did it. But because I'm sure he's probably part of his repertoire sometimes on the thing. So yeah, there's definitely that connection there.
Nice. Nice. I guess my follow-up question to that is, well, one, so on the latest Praying Mantis album, which by the way, kicks ass, phenomenal album. I adore it. I've got a copy right here on vinyl. Defiance. You guys re-recorded "I Surrender" with the current lineup, and it's magnificent. It's fantastic. So did you play it at the fest as well?
We were thinking about doing it. There's a few shows coming up in UK. Actually, we're probably going to do it there. But the reason why we haven't done it for so long, it's I suppose we, let sleeping dogs lie, but we thought that it's coming up towards 50 years since we did it, and we thought let's use Defiance, the album, to re-air it, and we never put it on album, so this time we thought let's put it on Defiance, and nearly 50 years later.
Nice. Do you think you would ever, just out of curiosity, would you ever release the original version? Like, as a bonus track on something?
I don't know where it is. I mean, it's
Oh,
so long ago, and obviously, going back to 1979, it was all the 2-inch tapes. Then it's a totally different recording technique to
oh,
now. And I honestly don't know where they would be. So it basically would be an impossibility. It's a
hmm.
nice idea, but
Yeah.
I don't know where they are, if they
Yeah.
still exist. Indeed.
Yeah, I would love to hear it. But yeah, I mean, but we have the new version that you guys did, which, as I said, is fantastic. And I mean, this entire album, Defiance, is, I mean, you guys just get better and better. I mean, and I love the entire catalog. What they're 12 studio albums and I think 3 live albums, if I did my math right. I can't promise I did, but uh, and every album, I adore every album. I mean, from the beginning, but I think musically, the band just gets tighter and tighter and better, and like the songwriting gets better. And as I mentioned, I adore every album. I mean, it's everything is fantastic. I mean, Time Tells No Lies is a classic, but I'm obsessed with this new album. It hits all the right
Oh, brilliant.
all the right feel goods, for
Mm.
lack of a better term. It's what I love about it is, and I think I've mentioned this to you before. Your music is timeless. It really is. It can, especially with this new album, there are elements that are very modern, but then there's stuff on here that, I mean, it could have been written in the 70s, it could have been written in the 80s, it's in the 90s. I mean, it fits all of it. And that's what I've always loved about the band is you guys kind of reinvent yourselves, but you always stay true to the core sound.
Keep that foundation, yeah. Because that's one thing as well. Sometimes I find with if there is I do quite a lot of the writing. Tina does a bit, and Andy does, a lot of the Andy Burgess now has been in the band 16, 17 years, I think now. So,
Yeah.
there's no doubt we did have a lot of member changes, during our history. But the lineup that we've got now is it's about 12 years with that specific lineup, and Andy goes back, even a lot further than that. It's 17, 18 years, I think, he's a really good writer, Andy, as well. So and it adds a different feel. So there's Tina and me still doing, what we did in on Time Tells No Lies, and Andy pulls in a slightly different direction, which I think you need, otherwise it can get a little bit too samey. So it's, you need that, you need a different writers, otherwise, you put on an album and you think, well, that one sounds a little bit like, the track beforehand, and that's what we try to get away from, and hopefully we achieved that in Defiance.
Yeah, I definitely think you did. Yeah, like I said, I mean, this album really blew me away. It really, yeah, it's hard to put into words because it feels like a Praying Mantis album, definitely. But then there's elements that I've never heard you guys explore before, and it works so well. And I think, with JC's vocals, I mean, he's got a huge range, and it works so well with that dual guitar work and your bass work. I'm trying to remember the track. Um, it might be the last track, but your bass line on there it's just it's beautiful. It's just perfect. Your tone, and that's why I've always loved your bass work. But this album, your tone is so rich. Um, the production is fantastic on this album. It's really incredible.
That's superb. Oh, that's much appreciated. Because even for the years we've been in the industry, I know it sounds maybe a bit of a cliche, but you always need that feedback, regardless who it comes from, because it's and someone of your stature, and the fact that you listen to so much as well, it gives it that much more weight,
Mm.
much more emphasis. So, but you can never ever stop getting compliments. Seriously, yeah, you need that to move ahead. It gives you that confidence that you're going in the right direction. So thank you.
Yeah, you guys definitely are. Yeah, I mean, and hopefully for a long time to come, because I think, well, as you mentioned, the current lineup, which has been around for quite, I mean, this lineup's been the longest, steadiest lineup, which is funny because I heard a fan, it might have been in a forum, they said they referred to JC as the new guy, and I'm like, the new guy, like he's been in the band longer than any other vocalist. Like, I don't know what you mean by new guy, unless you've just discovered the band. But yeah, I
Yeah,
thought that was funny. I thought that was pretty funny because I mean, you have a long career. I mean, there was the hiatus there for nearly 10 years. But I mean, you guys have had a long, storied career, and just continue to put out solid music. And I think that's the thing I've always loved is um, it seems like there's a lot of thought into the writing and to the albums. I remember also seeing some complaints from people like, oh, they take too long to put an album out. And it's like, but they master what they're doing and they're not just cranking stuff out, willy-nilly. It's very thoughtful, the way that you guys write. It seems as a listener, I don't mean to put words in your mouth, but it just feels like there's a lot of thought that goes into what you're doing. Always.
totally agree. That's and there are so many bands that may be either forced by the record companies, or I think they've got to, otherwise they get forgotten. So it just becomes a little bit of a production line, and you think, well, you're just churning it out for the sake of it without really, saying, is that right? Am I proud of that? So yeah, we do take a little bit longer. As it was, I think on that one, it wasn't too bad a sort of gap between,
Oh
the
yeah.
sort of previous albums. So, but we there's some of the albums we've had very long gaps. There's no doubt about it. I put my hand up. We are guilty of that.
Which is fine. I'm totally fine with that. That's, because you guys always produce, quality music that's compelling and interesting, and it rocks, and it's fun to listen to. And one thing I think that's important about your music is, for me, is it's never background music. It's like I have a hard time listening to your music at work because I want to listen to it. I don't want to be doing something else. Um, I want to sit down and crack open a beer and just listen. Shut the door and everybody else piss off. I'm listening to Praying Mantis right now. Yeah, because yeah. Again, not a question. So I apologize, but and I know I'm gushing, but I love your music so much, and this album just hits all the right spots. One thing I do want to ask you about was the artwork, the album artwork. I'll show it again because it's a darker flavor than
Yeah.
than a lot of your stuff. Well, there's some darker images on some of your albums, but this one's a little darker, and it has a very H.R. Giger vibe to it. The artist did a really cool, and I forgot his name. I had it written down, and now I don't know what I did with it. But the artist of the new artwork, of the new album, it's brilliant. I mean, it's just amazing, and I love the skull hidden, in the praying mantis
Within it.
space.
Yeah. Yeah, it is dark, and obviously getting album covers together. We've obviously used Rodney Matthews quite a lot in the past. Time
Yeah.
tells no lies, as you know, that was Rodney Matthews. I think he's still just doing it. I think he did retire, but sometimes he'll come out and still do bits and pieces. But quite a few of the albums we did have Rodney's artwork, which I do love. But this one I do love that darkness about it. It sort of drums up that eeriness, which in a way, I mean, the track, the title track, Defiance, I wrote specifically about Ukraine and Russia. It wasn't supposed to be political, but it was more of almost like, David and Goliath, with the
Right.
small little country fighting against this might. Um, and hence the word defiance. They thought, no, we are going to still, rise up and continue to fight, which they have done. And I thought it's so poignant, and I just thought it generated that sort of emotion in me to bring that out. And when we developed the album cover, I just thought it sort of portrayed that sort of that eeriness, that darkness, but the strength of the character that Ukraine had.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, that's brilliant. That's brilliant. Yeah, and I love the photos, the band photos too. Yeah, where you're, fists up, and
This
yeah,
Defiance, yeah.
yeah, yeah, it's perfect. It's perfect. Yeah, it just captured it. And I thought the video, um for the first single, which my brain just shut down, um that was also very dark, this, apocalyptic end
Oh,
of the
just
world.
standing tall, wasn't it?
Yeah, Standing Tall. Sorry, I can't believe I forgot the name of the song. Yeah, Standing Tall. That was brilliant, and kind of shockingly dark, the imagery. I think, in a lot of ways. However, that's one thing I've always loved about your band is kind of this juxtaposed. I mean, it's very melodic, like these beautiful, amazing harmonies, but then there's always been some darker lyrics. I mean, from the beginning. Um, I mean, you guys tackled suicide on the first album, so I mean, it's never been light in terms of lyrics ever. It's not that you guys don't write fluff. Um,
No,
yeah,
we
it's very
don't
compelling. It's always thoughtful.
write love.
Yeah.
My at me sometimes. He said, "Why don't you write a love song?" I thought it's not in my DNA. Children of the Earth. Again, it was already about destruction of the planet, and I wrote that song. Well, Tina wrote the music. I wrote the lyrics. It's great music. I love the music on that. But I think I wrote that in about 73 or 74.
Oh,
So
wow.
it was actually that and Lovers to the Grave were the first lyrics I think I ever wrote. So Lovers to the Grave, so that was the witchcraft and the young lovers go into the grave. And then Children of the Earth about the destruction of the planet. So yeah, hard themes, and certainly no love in there. And but even then, like I said, that's where it kicks off from. And personally, my lyrics have always been like that. So many songs about the letting go. That's another dark one. About
Yeah.
like going towards the light and that type of thing. So I don't know why. I think so many of our songs there's the minor chord, and it
Mm.
generates that real sort of the melody, and that real strong emotion. And so I think no, that to me is that subject. Does it fit that subject? And I thought, yes, it does. And hence why most of my particular lyrics are dark. But Standing Tall, I mean, it's. I remember when Tina first played it, I thought it's different. It's almost a disco beat to it.
Yeah.
Um, but I remember hearing it for the first time, and I couldn't quite picture the melody line he had. Um, and I think we were going to a show one day. John was coming over, and we said, "Look, John, can you stop by at Tino's first and put the lyric down, the vocal down?" And he phoned me about half an hour saying it's done. I thought that quickly, and it flew down because he felt natural. He really, saying it so naturally. He said it just flew down.
Hmm.
Then I did it, and I went. I love the melody line of it. It's really really powerful, and yeah, we play it at the shows and everything. And sometimes you do look at the audience thinking, it's a bit disco-y. Do I dance to it? Whatever they do, and it's funny. It is funny, but it's like you say. It's nice to have this variation, in songs. The real dark element of it. And that one's got a lighter tone in terms of its music, but lyrically, it's got a dark tone
Yeah.
on the. So it's quite interesting. That one's definitely.
Yeah, that's cool. Yeah, I think it's a brilliant song. Yeah, and I was a little, I don't know if taken aback is the right term, but when I first heard it, I'm like, yeah, that opening, yeah, where you said it, yeah, it's kind of almost got this disco kind of dancey jaunt to it. And I'm like, what is this? And then like, this is interesting. And then it just, that heavy guitar comes in. And then when you read the lyrics, like, whoa, this is cool. There's juxtaposition here of what's happening. Yeah, I thought that was brilliant. It's brilliant. Um,
No,
you mentioned, playing it live. It just got my brain going. So when you have such a huge catalog like you guys have, 12 albums, um, is it difficult putting together a set list? I mean, is there debate? Is there a lot of debate? And there's obviously fan favorites that you're going to have to play, and it probably depends on the country you're in. But yeah, kind of what's the process for you guys? And I mean, because you guys could put on a 3 hour set if you wanted to. I mean, you have so much music. Yeah, is it difficult deciding what to play and what not to play?
it's funny. You do get structure, and as you say, people do expect yeah, normally, Children of the Earth will be in there. Captured City. There's a slow one called Dream On.
Hmm.
We often do that because we do like the 4 or 5 part vocal harmonies on there, and when the sound is right, it just comes across, and you could just see people, in the audience really sort of taking it to heart, and so that's become a favorite, and we do that one in there. There is a core. We tend to have a core of songs we know is going to be because to be honest, when you do a festival like that, you're going to have some fans, but there's a lot that are coming to see you for the first time. Particularly at a festival. So you think you've got to put in that core and what you think is going to appeal to them, because you don't want them walking off to see Jolene Turner, or
Right.
you want to hold them. So we structure it to have the highs and lows, but the bits that really keep people interested. But as you say, we try to bring in some of the old songs and some of the new ones as well. Obviously, if it's promoting the new album, it's always quite difficult. But I'm sure most bands have that same sort of problem. You
Yeah.
know.
Yeah. It seems like it would be because I mean, yeah, like you said, I mean, there's the element of, wanting to please the fans, but then there's also like, what do I like to play? What's fun to play live? I'm sure there's and then, debate between musicians like what are we going to play? Well, I want this song. Well, no, I want this song, with a
Yeah,
certain amount of time on a set. I would imagine that can get,
yeah,
tricky sometimes.
it can get fractious sometimes. Yeah.
Yeah.
Generally, but they're generally in agreement though with
Yeah.
what works best, because ultimately that is the most important thing. Like I said, putting across your melodies in a relatively short space of time. Particularly for people that have not heard. So if it's our own audience and we know it's going to be our own audience, yeah, then we can experiment with it. But when we do things like festivals, like we did Time for Rock, there's that core type of template that
Mm.
we will try, and it generally works. So it's tried and tested.
Nice. Nice. Very cool. Um, if you don't mind, I'd like to kind of change direction a little bit and take a ride in the Wayback Machine um, to the beginning. Um, uh, so, I mean, obviously, you and your brother Tino are, musical. Did you come from a musical family? Like, how did this all start for you? What was the impetus for Chris to pick up the bass guitar?
It's a really interesting one, because uh, my very first instrument was Spanish guitar, flamenco guitar. And I remember we were quite poor, lived in a council flat. And I remember one day my mum saw this Spanish guitar in the window, and she, for some reason, bought it for me. Even though we didn't have a lot of money, she just said, well, give it a go. And I picked it up remarkably quickly. It was weird. I started playing, and then people used to come round, and she'd say, "Please go and get your guitar, give some flamenco." And what I didn't realize, Tina was getting jealous of me doing this, and at that time he was in furniture college. Designing and making furniture, but
Oh,
he made a guitar. I thought he made a couple of guitars. Then he met another guy there, and they started playing some Status Quo songs, Thin Lizzy and Wishbone Ash,
nice.
old Wishbone Ash. And hence why a lot of the melodies, the dual guitars, I think came from Thin Lizzy and Wishbone Ash.
Very cool.
Sort of structure there. So they started the band, and eventually he said to me, "Do you want to play bass?" So I went from flamenco guitar to I sort of then joined the band and started playing bass then. So that's the structure of it. Strange how it went, but I mean, our background: Spanish mother, Greek father, but Tino and myself both born in London,
Wow.
UK.
Very cool. Now, are your parents musical?
No,
No.
not at all. Not at all. Strangely. So, we jumped a gene somewhere along the line. Or a
Huh.
couple of genes. I can't think of grandparents either that were musical. So, yeah,
Interesting. Huh.
in there somewhere.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. It's maybe somewhere back there. That's interesting though.
Yeah.
Um, yeah. So you guys started the band essentially in like 73, right? Um,
Yeah.
what became Praying Mantis. Um, uh, and and of course that was, initially that was, the heyday of, the hard rock scene and the early metal especially in England, with Black Sabbath and Judas Priest and all of that. And then, fast forward up to, mid 70s when the new wave of British heavy metal starts to kind of really take hold.
Sure.
Um, and I always thought it was interesting that um, the ties with Praying Mantis to Iron Maiden, there's a lot of ties that I don't think people realize. I mean, there's been three members of past members of Iron Maiden who have been in Praying Mantis, and then one of your old drummer Bruce, he was in a band with the original singer of Iron Maiden, Paul Mario Day. Uh,
Well,
um,
of course, yeah, that
yeah,
goes back.
way back, yeah.
You- Homework. You've definitely done your homework.
Well, I'm obsessed with the new wave of British heavy metal. I have been for years and years. It's my favorite musical movement, which is interesting because it's, the more I talk to people that were actually part of it, it seemed like it was I don't know, it kind of like with any musical movement, it always gets named later, and then people are like, I didn't even realize I was in a movement. It just we were doing what we were doing. Did you, I guess that's my question. Did you realize at the time, like, what was happening? Like, did it seem like, wow, we're part of this revolutionary time of music? Yeah. Or was it just we were doing what we're doing?
It was very much we're doing what we were doing, and I think we got embroiled in that, and it was a good thing. There's no doubt about it. It was a good thing for us. But then a lot of people saying you don't really fit in it because of the melodies and thing, and that, I think that's why they were a bit surprised, when they say, "Are you really heavy metal?" Because you're not. Um, but we didn't mind being part of it. You think if this bus is moving along, you'd rather be on that bus as opposed to just standing at the bus stop. So, we were there for that ride, and it was paying dividends for us. The but then, obviously Iron Maiden were very much a part of that, and they grew stratus.
Yeah.
You could not believe how big they became. To a degree at that time, a lot of people said, yeah, Mantis are going to go the same way. And for whatever reason, it didn't quite happen for us. I don't necessarily, I know a lot of people say, God, you must really regret that. And I'm saying, look, we're still here.
Yeah.
We've done some amazing concerts around the world. We've traveled. I've had those opportunities. Played. We've supported some of the best bands in the world. So always look on the good side and the plus side and not the negatives.
Yeah.
So no, I don't. I don't regret it. I don't necessarily regret not making it. For every what they have experienced those highs, they're not always happy because that's why so many of these celebrities, when they reach the top, you think, where do you go from here? And then suddenly they're the ones that just fall off by the wayside and then die. You hear about their deaths, things like that. So, I'm privileged to think we were part of it. And our little contribution, when I die, I know I'm going to have these bits of plastic with my name on it and my contribution to music. So I'm proud of that part of it. In terms of the association with Iron Maiden, and sorry if I'm interjecting on any of the
No,
questions
no,
there,
no. This is great.
but we supported Maiden. It must have been 80 or 90 times, I think. With the various Metal for Mothers tour and the big tour that we did with them, some other little odd shows that we did at the Marquee, the original Marquee, that is. So we got to know them like brothers, really so well. And then when they started offloading some of their members, it seemed almost like a natural transition for them to say, "Have you got a job? Go and join them." So obviously there was that little stint with Paul Diano, where we did that Live at Last album in
Brilliant.
in Japan. The Dennis was in the band, what, 17 years? I think it
Yeah,
was.
a long time. Yeah.
He was there. And Clive Burr, God bless him. You know,
Yeah.
he was in the band as well. We did various things. We did Stratus, we did Clive Burr's Escape with him at that time. So there's a lot of links with Iron Maiden, definitely. You know, but you know, when I look back on the original Praying Mantis, there was Dave Potts on drums
Hmm.
and Steve Carroll on guitar, Tino and myself, and we heard recently that Dave Potts died. I don't
Oh
know.
no, I didn't know that.
So Steve and Dave are both dead now. So
Oh,
basically, original Mantis, it's only Tino and me actually still alive. So,
wow.
but you know, it's sad in that respect. You think that we're still going and we're still alive, you know, whereas those two unfortunately have left our you know this life. So, but you know, like I said, I look at the positives, and even though that you know that contribution that Dennis gave, Clive gave, and even Paul, you know, during that time, I thought it's been brilliant. It's you know, I'm privileged to have worked with those guys.
Yeah, very cool. Yeah, I've always loved that connection. And you know, you mentioned the Live at Last album, you know, which was, you know, I guess you could call that the comeback of Praying Mantis,
It was,
kind of what
yeah,
launched it. And it was an interesting, you know, after that album, when you guys decided actually, you know, let's pursue this again. But you took a different route where before, you know, you and Tino and Chris had shared the vocals, and you decided to go with a lead vocalist. What changed? Why did you decide to like let's get an actual vocalist rather than share the vocal? I mean, even though you all still sing, but
yeah. I think it was just to give a real you know, I think both Tuna and myself, we knew, you know, we were okay at vocals and enjoyed what we did on Time Tells No Lies. But we thought, look, we've got this second bite of the cherry. Let's get someone that can bloody sing, and you know, someone that can you can play your instruments then, but and you know, there's someone that you got the confidence that someone is superb out front. You know, someone like JC that delivers, and you got you can then relax. You think he's doing the job. People's eyes are on him. He's delivering those songs, and yeah, to be honest, my regret is that we didn't do it earlier. I must admit, I do wish we started earlier with that. You know, we still sing. I sing "Lovers to the Grave," and you
oh
know.
yeah,
That one. So yeah, but yeah, my regret is that we didn't do that earlier.
interesting, interesting. You mentioned kind of circling back with the you know, kind of, and I get it. It's like, you know, hindsight's 2020 and like what would have become, but it's too bad that your record company originally, which was Arista, right? I think,
Yeah,
they didn't promote in America like they could have, because I think Praying Mantis would have been much bigger, especially that sound at that time, you know, in the early 80s, the AOR, for lack of a better term, that sound that you guys had, which was very different. You know, as you mentioned, it was a different sound than a lot of the new wave of British heavy. Even though I still consider you a metal band, or you know, hard rock metal band. Um, and I think that's the other reason I love the band so much is you didn't sound like. I mean, there were, and nothing against them because I love a lot of it, but there were so many Iron Maiden clones. You know, people trying to sound like, and bands I like a lot, you know, and I won't name any. I don't want to trash anybody, but and I'm, you know, not that I am, but there were bands that like I mean you can like they lifted riffs from Iron like from their first two albums. I mean you well I'll say it. If you listen to Tokyo Blade, everything sounds like Iron Maiden, which is fine. They're great music. It's great music, but
yeah.
that's what I loved so much about Praying. Nobody sounded like Praying Mantis at all, and nobody has, in my opinion, sounded like Praying Mantis. I don't think
Thank
anybody can keep up with you guys. So,
you.
um,
A lot of credit has to go to the guy that produced, you know, and directed that us and that first album. The guy called Tim Freeze Green. I think his brain, his musical brain, was unbelievable. And he really made us think about the vocal harmonies. He was a brilliant pianist as well. And sometimes just say, yeah, let's. To me, it was a bit like Mutt Langer,
Mm,
that amazing musical brain. And he would come out and he'd say, "I want you guy to sing da, 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 da." And we thought, really? Okay, so we'd sing it all three parts. But you're out in the studio, you're just hearing the part that he's telling you to sing, and then you do another part. And then, I think we were doing Cheated at the time, and you hear the BVs on there. And I remember we went into the control room thinking, what's he done? And he played, and we went, wow. It was like these individual parts of an orchestra, and then you put it all together, and there was this amazing symphony of voices, and it was superb. But he could structure those harmonies. So from that time, Tuna and me have always looked at the vocal harmony. So we learned a lot from Tim Freescreen on that first album. He was
right.
superb.
Yeah, and that's cool. That's fascinating because and that's what I love too is that you've continued those harmonies, and even when you guys came back, made your comeback in the early 90s, which was a weird time musically. I mean, it was the era of grunge and alternative rock, and you're doing vocal harmonies and which really stood
Mm.
out. For me, it was great. It was like, this is awesome. This is fantastic. Like, I'm so sick of people whining. Like, it just felt like this is whine, and I like some of that stuff, but still, it was like, oh my God, it's just so whiny and just, ugh. Just, whereas you guys came back with, you brought it back, but it was fresh and new, and it was at the right time, I think. Even though it was a weird time, musically, what was happening, at least in America, in the States. Um, but yeah, again, I don't know what my question is there, but I just thought it was brilliant that you came back when you did. It was an interesting time to come back, I think, as well. Um,
We'll always look at that time and thought it was great to. It was a second bite of the cherry. There's no doubt about it, and it happened again. So I think it was meant to be. Like I said, maybe not to make it the heights of Iron Maiden, but to stay in music in some capacity, which we've managed to do. So again, we thank God for those times. The 1990 was a superb period for us.
yeah, and it was well, the Live at Last, in Japan, and it's interesting because I mean, I know it's cliche, but you guys are really big in Japan, like, like really big. It's interesting, and I love the Japanese audience for that because they embrace and have always embraced hard rock and heavy metal and AOR, whatever you want to call it, melodic rock and roll. Whereas in the States, there's these fads, which can be really frustrating as a music lover. And that's what I love about Japan is that they don't toss bands aside. They're like, no, they cherish bands. And we were chatting with JC, and he said it's kind of mind-boggling. He's like, we go to Japan, and it's like we're the Beatles. It's kind of scary. Like, we get mobbed.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah, yeah. No, it's superb, and as you say, they're dedicated. They are
yeah,
dedicated. Once you have a fan, a Japanese fan, they will stay there. They tend to stay there. So, as we go, we've gone there over the years. You can see the same fans coming out, them getting older, and you think, oh, it's them, and then you realize you're getting older as well at the same time. But no, they're lovely, lovely people, amazing. So to be honest, again, I'd have to say thank you to Japan because after that 1990 period, it was Japan that really sort of that was the fire beneath our pot. That was really keeping it us afloat. So thank you, Japan, Japanese audience, amazing.
nice, very cool. Um, excuse me. I did want to ask you about, if you don't mind, I'd like to talk about the visual aspect of the band, specifically album covers and also I was curious about the which kind of ties into this a little bit, the name of the band, Praying Mantis, kind of where that came from, the idea of, kind of where the name of the band came from originally. And then, and I guess it kind of, not always, but I know Sanctuary was not Rodney, but there's a motif, at least for a while, with kind of the Statue of Liberty, and I'm really curious about like kind of the meaning behind that, if you don't mind addressing that a little bit.
Yeah, I think because back in that, even the time tells no lies elements. There was a little bit of the artwork there, but it really came across the Rodney Matthews ones and the time tells no lie, not the time tells not the Predator in
Yeah,
the sky,
Predator. Yeah.
and that's where we saw it, and there was that thing. It was almost like that. I think it was the Planet of the Apes, with Charlton Heston, where he's walking on the beach and he suddenly sees the Statue of Liberty coming out of the sand, and he goes, "Oh my God!" And he realized what to the earth, and that to me it was. I love that film, and I love that particular shot, the irony of it, and it was just so apocalyptic, when you see the Statue of Liberty in that same sense. So I think we've almost used it like a little motive, as you say, a little
Yeah.
icon seems to come, now and again. And the Sanctuary cover was very much again utilizing that with the, even more sort of somber,
Yeah.
the skull there. So yeah, I love that sort of artwork. Where you look into it and form your own opinion of what it really means. But yeah, I love that dark side.
Yeah, I think it's pretty cool. And I mean, even Gravity, you've got the skulls, the kind of are spaceships, but they have the crown like the Statue of Liberty. Like, yeah, that motif that Rodney did. I thought that was pretty
It's,
cool. It was, and I've always loved his artwork. So
yeah, it's like a brand, isn't it? And so it's nice to sort of regurgitate it now and again on the various albums. But how it came out, the name came about. I think Tino came up with it, and I just think one of our singers back in the early days, a guy called Stan. I can't remember his surname now. It goes back so long ago. He was in a band for a long time. But one day he was just doing some movement on stage, and Tina said, "Oh, that looks like a praying mantis." And we thought, yeah, it's a good name because it's so hard to think of a name for a band. It is, it really is. I remember
oh yeah,
once out, and we must have written, I don't know, 400 possible names, and none of them we liked. All of them you'd poo-poo in some way, but that one we all went, yeah, I like it.
yeah,
So,
yeah.
um, and the Flirting with Suicide that Tino wrote. That is actually about the mating element of the praying mantis, because I don't know if you know that the male mantis is a lot smaller than the
All
female.
right, yeah.
Generally, as I understand it, I might be wrong, but apparently when the male copulates, often the female will then, as soon as basically he shot his load, as soon as he's done his bit, she'll turn around, she'll basically bite the head off and then eat the body as sustenance for the children.
Wow.
So sometimes they would escape, but generally the male would end up as as food, you know, offspring. And that's hence flirting with suicide.
Oh
So
wow, that's
that's it.
perfect.
Um, but yeah, credit to Tina for coming up with that and the lyrics for that song.
That's genius. It's brilliant. That's brilliant. Yeah, that's very cool. I did not know that. That's really cool. Yeah, and I love the logo. I think you guys have such a solid logo, and it's so definitive. Um yeah, it's beautiful. So cool.
I, I, I actually go, not because it's praying mantis. I actually think it's one of the best logos I've ever seen.
Oh,
It
it's
is just,
phenomenal.
the Rodney Matthews. We took it from there, but It's superb. I've always loved that logo. It looks great on t-shirts. It looks great on, we're on, when you see us on a bill, with a festival, and you see all the other ones, and there's the Praying Mantis one. I think it's one of the best. There's no credit to us. Credit to Rodney Matthews again, but I think it's amazing, excellent.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, it really stands out. It's like Iron Maiden's logo. I mean, it stands out, or or Venom. It's, one of those, you know, legendary, just classic, logo. It's a classic logo, and I think it's too bad it doesn't, I don't know, I'm sure bands still do that, but it doesn't seem like, that was one of my brother and I were just talking about this, and I'm sorry I'm going off on a complete weird tangent here with the logo thing, but so my brother and I are both massive Rush fans. They don't have a logo. Like every album is a different font. It's maddening. Like there's not one font ever.
No, I agree, but
It's
what
strange.
I mean, they're on another planet, aren't they?
Yeah, yeah. But I mean,
Musicianship is incredible.
yeah, but it's weird that yeah. But then you look at, yeah, I mean, Led Zeppelin, Jag Panzer, you're, Praying Mantis. Yeah, I love that classic, this is the logo, this is what it looks like. So yeah, I think that's cool. Um, yeah, and Rodney was just amazing. And it's funny, I didn't even realize this until recently. Um, so and it's funny because you mentioned Thin Lizzy, the band originally started playing Thin Lizzy stuff. I'm a massive Thin Lizzy fan. And I did not realize until recently that he did, their several of their album covers. Um,
Mm, yeah, I
yeah,
yeah, I remember we played once. He's it was an exhibition. He was selling all his artwork, and I saw it there, and I thought, oh, I didn't know that. So yeah, it was
yeah.
news to
I
me.
don't know how I didn't. Well, this is sad. I did not know how I didn't know that, especially because I have Phil Lynnett's I have a tattoo of Phil Lynnett's face from Vagabonds of the Western World, which is, Rodney. And I just learned recently that it was Rodney. I'm like, well, that's embarrassing that I don't even know who the artist is tattooed on my body permanently. And I just learned that it's, and I adore that album. So yeah, anyway. Um, yeah, but great artist. Yeah, amazing. And yeah, but to, I think what you guys, the artwork now, fantastic. Very
Superb.
fantastic.
Yeah,
Yeah. I need to get a t-shirt with the new artwork, the new album on there, I think. Um, so hopefully that's available somewhere. I need to find it. Um,
I'll find out about because I know we had the batch did run out. It should be another batch coming. So we'll be in contact about that, and I'll try and get one together
oh,
for you.
thank you. That'd be great. Thank you.
No problem.
So, I don't want to keep you all night. I know it's late there. But it just what's next for Praying Mantis? What do you guys have coming up here?
It's always an interesting one because Tim and myself are we are getting up there now in terms of age, but the we've done what 4 shows recently. There was a festival in Munich. We did 2 in Prague, and last week we did Sweden and Time to Rock. And honestly, those 4 shows are probably the four of the best we've ever done.
Hmm.
And you think, how is that possible? Because you think, no, you must reach a plateau, and then it's going to drop off, particularly as you get older. But no, it seemed to, honestly, the audience seemed to love it. Um, and we were just getting so much accolade, and that is such a drug. So if you think about leaving it, you think, how on earth? All you have to do is one show like that, and it just brings you back again. You're saying you can't leave it. So we are very much, hopefully with this lineup, just going to continue and go from strength to strength. We
That's
do actually have a new manager who's, promising us he's going to, do things and put us, higher up in the sphere. So
excellent.
let's hope that it comes, because to me it is an amazingly strong unit now. Like I said, with 10 of myself at the core, but Andy's been there for 17, 18 years, great writer. and Hans and JC, they came almost like a pair, and it's here we are now, 12 years later, and thank God for them, because again, we talked about that 1990 being that sort of resurgence. I think there was another resurgence, when Andy joined, in a further one when Hans and JC joined, and that was a big one. I think it suddenly gelled, and we thought, now this is a unit. Now let's keep going. So hopefully, there's many more albums to come.
Very good. Yeah, Hans is a yeah. I feel I'd be remiss not to mention that guy is a monster drummer. What a phenomenal drummer, and yeah, and adds so much to the band. And yeah,
He's a showman as well. At
yeah,
the end, all the
yeah.
feelings
Do
thing.
you
But
do you guys have any shows coming up in the near future?
we've got some English shows coming up now. That's the next thing, and we are actively, again, beginning to write now for. I mean, it must be such a cliche that you hear, "Oh, we're beginning to write," for the new album, but we are.
Cool. Good. Oh, awesome. Yeah.
But yeah, we're just trying to, I think what we'd really love to do now is maybe to get a support for a really big band. That to me is something I'd love to do. I know that they're very difficult to get on. There's no doubt about that. But I'm talking a big band, and to do 20, 30 dates like that.
Yeah.
So that's what we're aiming for. That's on the agenda. So keep your ears and eyes sort of peeled on that one.
That would be cool. Yeah. If Steve Harris is watching this,
Yeah.
bring this Iron Maiden tour
Oh, exactly.
in the
But
States.
we approach that 50 years, together, that would be a an amazing pair, and that would be superb.
Yeah. Oh, that'd be brilliant. But yeah, I have has Praying Mantis ever been to the States?
No.
I didn't think so. Yeah, I've never seen you live, which is unfortunate. And yeah, so
Well, it's been close, but it's you don't make it easy for it. I mean, it's
no.
so difficult with the visas now. Um, very very difficult. So, but again, and that is on the card. So that's what we're trying. One sort of record I want to break. Definitely that we haven't ever played the States. So that's something we'd all love to do. It's on the bucket list. That's without doubt.
Excellent. Yeah. Yeah. Well, you can come and stay here. You can stay with me. I'll buy the beer. So,
You I look, keep it cold. Keep it cold.
yeah, that would be awesome. Well, Chris, thank you so much for chatting with me. This has been truly an honor, absolute pleasure. For those of you watching, if you look in the links below, I've got, or in the description below, I've got links to Praying Mantis's Facebook page, their webpage. If you don't have it, go buy this album right now. Damn it. This is phenomenal, phenomenal album. You need to own it. It needs to be in your collection. And you can get it on there. There's a link on your Facebook page. I think you can get to it. I think it's on Bandcamp. You can find it. Go to your local record store and order it. Yeah, buy local and buy Praying Mantis. Again, thank you so much. This has been phenomenal. Thank you.
Well, Victor's been superb. I've really enjoyed it as well. So likewise,
Thank you.
take care. All the best.